Good to see everybody here. Thank you, brother. Thank you. A lot of friends. Yeah, I gotta get up like this. You know how I am. It means so much for me to be here and to see this beautiful room of people. I'm a big firm believer that this is the very best place to build a company in the universe, and I'm so happy to be here and see everybody think about building their businesses and growing. And this panel is exactly about how to do that. We talked a lot about VC today, and there are other ways to raise money besides just VC. And as a VC, I'm kind of proud to kind of share some of those with you guys. So I'm going to have our panel come up and actually introduce themselves. So let's give a big round of applause to these amazing, beautiful people here. Go on. We didn't know what order to sit in, so let us know if this works or not. Yeah, good. You can sit next to me, make me look small. It's okay. Oh, thank you. Cool. So we talked about this a little bit, and we're big believers that the value in these things comes from you, not from us talking at you. So we're gonna give a few points, kind of give the important things out, but really we decided to reserve the bulk of our time to answer Q&A. So please have your questions, start thinking about what to ask. We want to really be here as a resource for you, both during the panel and after. So we're going to give just quick 2-minute introductions. And I'm moderating, so I'm going to talk very little bit about myself. In fact, this will probably be it. I'm Brackeen. I moved to Miami from Philly because it was too damn cold 8 years ago. Really kind of the best thing that ever happened to me. Started a company called Kairos, facial recognition AI company based here in Miami. Grew that from 0 to a $120 million valuation. We had 35 employees at our largest, raised about $13 million in both crypto and traditional VC. Had a huge fight with my board about whether or not we should be doing facial recognition on the government and on black people. And then got a suit, won the suit, sold the company to a private equity firm, and became an investor. So yeah. So good to be here with family, and I'm happy to share some of those experiences over those 8 years with you guys, either here. Again, I'm moderating here, so I'm going to talk a lot here, but also after. I'm here all day. Come see me. Tip your bartenders. Thanks.
Thanks, Brian, and thank you everyone for the invitation. My name is Annabella Rojas. I'm originally from Venezuela, lived in Chicago for 8 years, also couldn't handle the cold, and then moved to Miami. I worked for a fintech company first, and then I joined the 500 Startups team in Miami. We're a global venture capital firm and accelerator with a global presence, and we're constantly ranked amongst the most active global VCs. So we have over 2,300 portfolio companies across 75 countries. We have around 450 million of committed capital, and we really are here to back the most talented entrepreneurs everywhere. So we bring opportunities because we believe talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't. And we just opened the Miami office last year. It's our only other office in the US outside of San Francisco, which is our headquarters. And we're betting hard on the Miami ecosystem. We're here thanks to the support of our anchor partners, Knight Foundation, Visa, and the Miami Downtown Development Authority. And we offer a combination of non-investment founder training programs and also investor training programs because we think it's important to educate both founders and investors. And the programs are mainly an 8-week Miami Growth Program, which is running at the moment. And then also founder boot camps, which are short 2-day programs. And I actually see some founders here that have been through our programs.
I did.
And Evan, who was somewhere around.
Hey everybody, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Tunde Kelani. I'm a senior associate at a company called Republic. We are a full stack investment platform that helps entrepreneurs and private companies raise capital at all stages of their growth journey. But quick background on me, originally from Denver, Colorado, spent some time in Chicago before I moved to New York City, have a background in sales and trading, but was always interested in being more on the investment side. So, took a role at Republic to really, help support the diversity of the pipeline, give, diverse founders who don't have access to capital the chance to do that. And Republic basically, like I said, we're full stack, so we are able to help companies raise the seed stage, Series A, and through their growth. Yeah, excited to be here with you guys.
Awesome. My name's Nan. I was a former investment professional doing private equity and venture capital in Asia, so helped rebuild Lehman Brothers under the Neuberger brand in Hong Kong, then spent some time at CIC, the Chinese Sovereign Wealth Fund. Got the itch to become a founder and joined a childhood friend I've known since I was 5, and we founded Sleeper, which is a messaging platform for sports that also hosts season-long fantasy leagues on it. We're the fastest growing sports app in the US right now, the highest engagement and retention sports app in the world, raised 4 rounds of capital. Our first round took 3 years to do, so know all of the stuff not to do. Our second round took 3 months. Third round took 3 weeks. This most recent round we're getting ready to announce took a week and a half. And so happy to share all the
3 days. 3 days next.
Awesome. Oh, great. It works. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel. I represent Miami Angels. Hey, Tamonte, what's up, man? So we are an angel syndicate. We have 150 accredited investors that make up this group, Miami Angels. We, in the last 3 years, have invested $11 million in 29 portfolio companies here in Florida, with a few exceptions outside of the state. But basically, we're here to catalyze not only investor dollars here in Florida, but basically equalize the opportunity to access that capital. And then a little bit background on me. Also spent some time in Chicago as a management consultant after graduating from Florida State. So if there are any Noles in the house, nice, go Noles. And then after that, was an operator myself. Was able to exit that business, fortunately, and then now as an investor with Miami Angels.
Thank you all. Really good backgrounds. Really good backgrounds. So let's start with a little bit about. I want to kind of get a show of hands in the room here. So there's, in my mind, there's kind of 3 groups. There's still thinking about funding or thinking about my idea. So like, we'll say thinking about it to $0 funds raised, and there's like 0 to $1 million, and there's $1 million plus. So just a quick show of hands. Who has an idea and is thinking about raising money for that idea in the future? All right. Who has raised somewhere between 0 or between 1 and $1 million? All right. And who here has raised more than $1 million? All right. Excellent. Excellent. Like it. Like it. Good. So that helps us to answer the questions really in the best way for you guys. So for some of the folks that are thinking about raising money, one of the questions I get a lot is, should I just go right to crowdfunding? I read all these stories about how they don't invest in minorities, and I'm kind of scared, or they don't invest in women. What should I do? Should I just go to the crowdfunding route? What do you guys think about founders that are thinking about that route? What would you tell them?
Yeah, so I can take it. I think crowdfunding and crowd investment platforms are a great solution for founders who don't have access to capital in their general networks. Like if you think about Black families and the amount of capital that we have in our networks as compared to other majority populations within the U.S., oftentimes we're lacking, and oftentimes because of pattern matching that VCs go through, it's hard to, 1, get that meeting, and 2, when you get in that meeting, kind of convince them to invest in you. So at Republic, what we are looking to do is basically provide access to capital to founders who, for different reasons, maybe they don't look the same way that traditional founders have been, look the same as traditional founders who have been funded or live in major cities, major hubs where there's access to capital. What we are doing is providing a platform that provides that access. Super viable for companies who are kind of in that seed through Series A, Series B type of range. And so for us, what we do is kind of look to screen companies, we conduct due diligence on them, and then we allow them to run open investment campaigns where they can really leverage the power of their communities and friends and family and people who are around the company who believe in the founders and want to get in at that ground floor. We've kind of worked to create a product that tackles a lot of the problems that have been affiliated with crowdfunding, which is primarily that you don't want hundreds or thousands of investors sitting on your cap table. So we've tried to be really thoughtful about the process of going out and raising from a large amount of people at one time. How do you do that efficiently? How do you kind of make sure that once you've raised that capital, it's not too cumbersome to have to communicate with all those different investors? And we created a modified version of the Y Combinator Safe, which is called the CrowdSafe, which is a founder-friendly instrument that allows you to raise from a large amount of people while still aggregating all those investors into one line item on that cap table. And so for founders who are who have a community around their product or have kind of been out in that market and aren't able to get that initial growth injection, it's a great way for them to leverage their communities and get them in on the ground floor.
So you covered a couple of things there that I think are interesting. Everybody in this room will be very familiar with racial bias, but also geographic bias is a thing. And maybe you guys can talk a little bit about investing in this community or markets that are outside of Silicon Valley and New York, and why you do it and what you'd like to see in those markets.
Well, in general, I also think that crowdfunding plays an important role because it gives more options to founders. I think as a founder, you're at a different place right now because there are alternative financing vehicles than a few years ago. And this plays a very strong role because having more access to capital helps you be in a better place and be more strategic. It's very different when you're raising money desperately to having a plan and having options and knowing that you get to pick a vehicle that's right for you. And we do the same. Like 500 startups, we're very different from traditional VCs. Our average check size is $150,000. And like I mentioned, we have investments across 74 countries. But it really matters to bet on those founders early on because we know that they don't have a lot of access to begin with. And we serve in a way as a stamp of approval that helps them open doors to networks, to have other founders, either traditional VC or not, to feel more comfortable with the investment. So in general, the crowdfunding and being in either in secondary markets, whether if it's a racial bias, geographic, ethnicity, or even social education and background, now you have more options and you're at a better place to fundraise as a founder.
Yeah, I would say that I think there was a lot of knowledge dropped in the last session, and I would encourage everybody to watch that if you have access to the film to watch it over again. And having been doing my business for 5.5 years and seeing, I guess, the struggles of fundraising without having ever lived in San Francisco. So I moved from Hong Kong, I knew nobody. And the first thing that I did was I tried to network my way into meeting. Oh, can you guys hear me now? Is that better? Okay. So I networked my way into meeting all of our existing founders, not by going straight to VCs, but relying on the community that was around me. It was other Asian founders that looked like me who had done it before. And I think the generosity of their time, their resources, and their willingness to help is what enabled me to be here today to be talking about fundraising. And I think you guys should do that for each other, because as you succeed, you build validation. And unfortunately, as a minority group, we still have to prove our validity to people who don't look like us. And the only way we do that is we lift each other up. It doesn't have to be just black founders. It doesn't just have to be Miami founders. The founder struggle is actually universal. And so reach out across racial lines, across geographic lines, and find those people that you think could be good mentors and good resources for you as you fundraise. On the point about on the point about whether you use crowdfunding or VC funding, I don't think you should think of one as a backup to the other. It really comes down to fit. Crowdfunding is great if you have a product like a shoe or a t-shirt that you want your users to be able to rep. And so the people who are investing are your consumers, and you dog food your product with that audience. However, it's really hard to raise $20 million in crowdfunding. So if you have something in AI tech, crowdfunding is probably not the right way to go. So really dig deep and understand what you're trying to solve and who your audience is when you decide where to raise money from.
To Nan's and Annabella's point, us at Miami Angels, we're really looking at Florida, specifically this Miami context, especially earlier on in the formation of our group, as a place to bet on. We're all no stranger to some of the disadvantages of being in a nascent venture financing landscape. It's hard to have assemblies like this, right, that are really moving this topic forward.